Hi, Rushrecap here. Today I am going to explain a movie called The Butterfly Effect. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. In the late 1980s, a young boy named Evan Trayborn seems to lead an ordinary, happy life with his dog and his loving mother Andrea. The two of them have a close bond, and Andrea cares deeply for Evan, raising him with all the love and dedication any parent could hope to provide. One day, however, Andrea receives a call from Evan's school asking her to come in for a conversation. She's greeted by Evan's teacher, who explains that she recently asked the class to draw pictures of what they wanted to be when they grew up. But when it came to Evan's drawing, she was startled. He had made a very disturbing picture depicting a scene of violence. Curious and concerned, the teacher had asked Evan about the drawing, only for Evan to say he didn't remember making it at all. This strange disconnect between Evan's actions and his memory unnerves Andrea. Later that evening, Andrea decides to take Evan to a local mental institution to have him evaluated by a specialist. She's worried about her son's mental health, fearing he may have inherited his father's mental illness. After a thorough discussion, the doctor advises Andrea to have Evan start keeping a daily journal, documenting his activities and thoughts in hopes that it might improve his memory and help him reconnect with moments he might otherwise forget. The next day, Evan dutifully begins writing down everything he does. But as Andrea watches him, she's horrified to see that he's suddenly holding a knife, seemingly out of nowhere. Evan snaps out of an unexplainable trance, confused and unable to recall why he picked up the knife or even when he grabbed it. This eerie incident only intensifies Andrea's worries. Soon after, Andrea drops Evan off at the home of his friends, siblings Kaylee and Tommy Miller. Their father, George, recently acquired a video camera, and he wants to create some fun films with the kids, though he insists they keep it a secret. As they prepare, a tension develops. Tommy, seeing Evan as a rival, feels sidelined and gets visibly angry. In the midst of this, Evan once again experiences a blackout, a sudden gap in his consciousness. When he comes to, he's in the basement with Kaylee. Both children are in a vulnerable state, and George is recording them on camera while drinking. Panicked, Evan realizes he has no memory of how he ended up here or what's happening. George, no longer pretending to be friendly, harshly berates Evan, threatening to tell Andrea about his supposed misbehavior. Meanwhile, Kaylee is silent, unresponsive to Evan's frightened questions, while Tommy watches with a twisted sense of satisfaction, breaking a doll in a symbolic act of frustration. Andrea, hoping to understand what's happening with her son, returns to the institution to discuss the results of Evan's recent tests. The doctor explains that while there's no indication of physical issues, Evan's memory problems may stem from psychological stress. Suspecting a father complex due to Evan's lack of a relationship with his dad, the doctor suggests arranging a supervised meeting between Evan and his estranged father, Jason, who has been a long-term patient at the facility. Though nervous, Andrea agrees, hoping it might give Evan some closure. During the arranged visit, Evan's father is brought into the room, heavily sedated and in handcuffs. At first, Jason offers kind words, but suddenly, Evan blacks out again. When he regains awareness, he's lying on the floor, and his father is attempting to choke him, screaming that Evan must die for reasons unknown. The guards rush in and subdue Jason, hitting him repeatedly to restrain him, but unfortunately, they end up killing him in the process. The traumatic event leaves Evan haunted. At his father's funeral, he finds comfort in Kaylee, who holds his hand during the somber ceremony. Fast forward 6 years. Time passes, and Evan becomes a teenager. He's still close friends with Kaylee, her brother Tommy, and another friend Lenny. On one occasion, the group gathers to smoke in secret, with Tommy incessantly mocking Lenny. Feeling bored and looking for excitement, Tommy reveals a hidden firework he stole from his father's stash and dares Lenny to perform a prank. Reluctantly, Lenny takes the firework and places it inside a mailbox. Just as he does, Evan experiences another memory blackout. When he snaps back, he finds himself and Tommy pulling an unconscious Lenny away from the scene. Sirens soon fill the air, and an ambulance rushes Lenny to the hospital. When Andrea asks Evan about what happened, he can only cry, having no memory of the incident. The following day, while searching through some of Andrea's old belongings, Evan stumbles upon a mysterious box containing photos and an envelope with his grandfather's death certificate. It reveals that his grandfather, too, had died in a mental institution. This unsettling discovery further fuels Evan's worries about his family's troubling history. Andrea takes him back to the doctor, who tries hypnotizing Evan in hopes of jogging his memory about the mailbox incident. But the hypnosis brings Evan nothing but pain, and his nose begins to bleed, forcing the doctor to end the session. Evan, once again, can't recall anything he said while under hypnosis. With no answers and his confusion mounting, Evan seeks out the truth from Tommy, but Tommy's reaction is hostile. He pushes Evan against the wall, warning him to never speak of it again. The tension between the friends grows, especially when Evan notices Kaylee's distressed behavior. She's been unusually quiet, and scars on her arms hint at her troubled home life. She confides in Evan, revealing that her father George took his anger out on her after Lenny's injury, blaming her and Tommy for everything that happened. To comfort her, Evan kisses Kaylee, a small moment of solace in their troubled lives. However, Tommy witnesses the kiss, and in a jealous rage, he attacks a stranger in the theater, leading security to remove him. Sometime later, Evan, Kaylee, and Lenny decide to meet in secret without Tommy. Lenny, who is visibly traumatized, agrees to join only when assured that Tommy won't be there. They head to the woods, where they find Tommy torturing Evan's dog, putting it in a bag and dousing it with gasoline. Horrified, Evan attempts to stop Tommy, but Tommy attacks him. Evan blacks out again, and when he wakes up, his face is injured, and the dog is dead. Heartbroken, Andrea decides that she and Evan must move away from this toxic environment. As they leave town, Evan sees Kaylee running after their truck, and he promises to return for her someday. As the years roll on, Evan Trayborn grows into a young adult, now a college student studying psychology. His life, however, is far from normal. Evan's past is a patchwork of broken memories, mysterious blackouts, and haunting moments that feel like fragments of someone else's story. He can barely remember most of his childhood, only faint glimpses that resurface occasionally. Hoping for some answers and a sense of peace, he begins rereading the journals he kept on the advice of his childhood therapist. As he combs through the pages, he's jolted by flashbacks to forgotten incidents. But this time, he feels something different. A strange, powerful sense that he's not just remembering these events but reliving them. Evan realizes, to his shock, that he might be able to alter the past through these memories, somehow influencing what actually happened. Intrigued yet cautious, he decides to test this ability by focusing on a particularly painful memory, a moment when George, Kaylee's abusive father, traumatized both Kaylee and him. With intense concentration, he revisits that day and confronts George with a bravery he lacked as a child. Astonishingly, when Evan comes back to the present, he notices subtle changes. Kaylee, the childhood friend he had once shared an unbreakable bond with, now seems to be living a stable life, freed from the cycle of trauma that once defined her existence. But their shared connection, once a cornerstone of his life, has faded. Kaylee, although happy, no longer remembers their friendship as he does, leaving Evan feeling isolated. Unnerved but determined, Evan begins experimenting further with his newfound ability. He revisits another significant memory, the incident with Lenny and the firework. Desperate to save Lenny from the emotional scars of that day, Evan intervenes in his past to prevent the mailbox explosion. However, the new reality that emerges is disastrous. Instead of sparing Lenny, Evan ends up in a dark timeline where he's imprisoned for a violent altercation with Tommy, who meets a tragic end as a result. And Lenny, far from being healed, is even more damaged in this altered reality. Evan realizes that every change he makes only leads to unforeseen consequences, creating a chaotic web of cause and effect. Evan's relentless pursuit to rewrite the past only drags him deeper into tragedy. Each memory he revisits in his journal, each alteration he attempts, brings forth increasingly devastating outcomes. In one haunting sequence, he tries to stop George's abuse more definitively, forcing Kaylee to leave her father and escape with him. But this leads Kaylee to a life of despair, ultimately causing her to take her own life. Each attempt to save those he loves results in greater suffering, and the emotional toll begins to weigh heavily on Evan's mind. Every time he tries to alter one piece of his history, the pain echoes further, intensifying the turmoil in his own present life. Determined to undo the damage, Evan makes a final, desperate choice. He decides that he must remove himself from Kaylee's life entirely, believing that her world would be better without his presence. He goes back to a pivotal moment in their childhood, the first day he met her. Rather than befriending her, he chooses to push her away, a heartbreaking decision that severs their connection before it has a chance to grow. When he returns to the present, he finds that this ultimate sacrifice has worked. Kaylee is now living a happy, fulfilling life, untouched by the pain and trauma they once shared. Yet, the price is heavy. Evan is left alone, carrying the weight of their lost friendship and the love that will never be. In the aftermath of his harrowing journey, Evan makes the decision to destroy his journals, cutting off his access to the past and accepting that his attempts to change it have only brought sorrow. With this final act, he hopes to find some semblance of peace, vowing to move forward without the constant pull of regret and guilt. As he watches the pages burn, Evan feels a bittersweet release. He has finally freed himself from the dark grip of his memories, even if it means carrying the scars of his choices alone. Evan's journey serves as a powerful reminder of the unpredictable ripple effects of trying to undo the past. His tragic story embodies the harsh lesson that sometimes, the most courageous choice is to accept the things we cannot change, and to live with the consequences of our actions, no matter how painful. And there you have it, the butterfly effect, a tale where every choice creates a new ripple in time, with consequences that are as unpredictable as they are haunting. Evan's journey reminds us of the power and danger of tampering with the past, proving that sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is to let go and live with what is. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the butterfly effect and want more recaps that explore the complexities of film and TV, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Rushrecap. Here, we bring you captivating, in-depth breakdowns of stories that stay with you long after the credits roll. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our next journey into the world of unforgettable stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next recap.